2004 Chevy Trailblazer. Owners changed a rear brake pads, rotors, and calipers. And he told me that he could not bleed the brake system very well, so he asked me if I can take a look at it. I did notice that the bleeder valve on one wheel was not tightened up. It was leaking fluid a little bit, and so I bled the system. Everything was okay. And actually his complaint was that he's losing the brakes at a very low speed. And my first question was, is the ABS light on? He said no, and it's really not. And when there's the ABS light does work. And turn it on, you can see the light is on and start the car. I stayed in the gear. Alright, so you can see that the ABS light will go away, and there are no codes in this ABS module. And so I took the truck for a test drive, and sure enough, at a very low speed, it does kind of bog the brake pad will actually drop down. And on these Chevys, of course, you have to watch the sensors, the wheel speed sensors. Now my confusion was here that this truck only has the front sensor, not the rear, but in the data I can actually see the rear speed sensor. I was thinking maybe just only one, but I don't even know how the computer generates that signal, but there is some kind of signal from the rear wheel, but even though there is not a sensor there at all. I'm sure some of you guys know the answer to that question, but I don't know. So anyhow, I'm now, let me just stop. I can see my brake pedal drop down a little bit. I'm looking to get some data on the screen, and you will see, guys, there is my ABS module is activating at a very low speed. I'm not sure why it's not. I just did the codes, and we'll see there are no codes. Now the history code that says a rear wheel speed sensor circuit fault, which again, this doesn't have a rear speed sensor, so I'm really confused here. But anyhow, I need to kind of look at that, but it's a history. So let's go to data display, and so we can see here we have a left front, rear front, right front, and then a rear wheel speed sensor. And then let's look at the ABS stop, and then left front and right front. And again, the rear, it's not a problem anyway, because now when we look at the speed on it, the signal looks pretty good. I'm sorry for the glare. There's a little actually dropout right there on the left side. That was interesting. I didn't see that before. And so let's go to the slow stop, and you can see it activates the ABS system. The ABS pump is activating. Sorry about the glare, but we can look at this data when we get back in the garage. But you can see that it does activate the ABS. And again, this is there is no code for any of the sensors to be faulty, but definitely computer sees something that I cannot see on a scan tool, because even when we have this anomaly here, right there, these anomalies, I mean, there's no activation of the ABS system, so that's not the problem. You can see here and here a little bit, but this is all acceleration. The problem was actually when decel, when we actually going to the dead stop, we can see every time it gets down to 3 miles an hour, it activates the ABS module. And let's do it one more time. The ABS module activates the ABS pump. And this again, and it pretty much happens every time. And that's the reason why he actually changed all that in the rear, all the pads and rotors and calipers and all that. So I decided to get the lab scope. I have my Pico scope hooked up to a wheel sensors, and the blue channel, the channel A, is on the left side, and the red is on the right side. And and we both of these are at 1 volt, and we can see right away that my amplitude on the left side is a lot less than one on the right side. And let's go slow to the, and we can see it now. It's activating the ABS because right there it doesn't see the signal anymore. You can see how I could probably go to like 2 volts because I'm off the scale on the right side. You can see it's clipping here, meaning it's over the 2 volt, over 1 volt. But definitely there's a lot less amplitude on the left side, and most likely this is a gap problem, or I'm not sure if this is the whole assembly that comes with the hub and all that. I'm not sure, hub bearing, but definitely it's right in this area actually, when actually went below 200 millivolts and computer couldn't see the signal anymore, and it starts activating the ABS module. Interesting enough, again, it does not generate the code. And let's go back into the shop and we can pull the left wheel and see what's going on. Let's do one more time. There you go. Right now it's activating. Now I'm gonna change the scale on the red channel. I'm gonna go to 2 volts now, so we can see the whole amplitude of that signal. And you can almost see now that both of these now are the same, even though the red channel, the second channel, is actually the 2 volt scale, and the blue channel is in 1 volt scale. All right, so we're gonna take a look at this again at the shop a little bit better without a glare, and then we'll take the wheel off and see if the gap is excessive, or we have to replace the whole bearing. And right again, it's activating here. You can see right there, it activates the ABS pump. And okay, so we are on the right track, and we'll see what we can do with this. We are back in the shop, and you can see where we had this activation of the ABS, and see if I can see some more. But again, I don't see much of a difference on these wheels, other than, you know, we know now that there is a you can see here. So anyhow, every time you go from higher speed down to low speed, it activates the interesting here. It seems like it activates at higher speed here as well. It's almost no, it's not. Okay, it's right where the we go to a almost full stop, and then it activates the now pump. At the lab scope, let's just measure the amplitude now. It's much easier to do now than well, I've lost my, are you kidding me? How did I lose my, man. Well, you guys did see that, but I mean, it's somehow I lost my, that's not right. I don't know why I did that. Let's just go ahead and see what we can. So anyhow, we are here at a 200 millivolts. Let's see if I can see the red channel. That's just, I'm not sure how did I lose all the data. And we are at the 500, so more than a double in a amplitude. And so again, I'm not sure what happened to my scope. I lost my data, but that's okay. We can still see where the difference is. Okay. And now let's go ahead and see what happens on that wheel. Well, it seems like the sensor is not part of the hub assembly. I don't see excessive corrosion around the sensor, so I'm just going to take it out. Maybe there is, I'm not sure. And but that's the first what we're going to do. Take the sensor out, clean up. There is some kind of washer, the spacer under for sure. Maybe if you take a spacer out, it might work better. Well, this is what I was thinking, it's some kind of spacer. It's not, it is a rust. This doesn't look too bad. And now we're going to strip this rust off. Gotta clean it up. Actually, I'm sorry. And here's a spacer, and but there is a buildup of corrosion right there, right in the middle of it, and we're gonna get it cleaned up and redo the test. So now, to clean this rust, what I really found that works very well is just the chisel, and you can really clean up pretty quick. Actually, maybe you take this is actually pretty stubborn, so I'll have to. I think this is part of the this spacer here, the little knob, or maybe it's just the rust. I don't know. I'm just gonna get it cleaned up, and then we'll go from there. All right, this looks pretty good. I used a chisel and the wire brush, and this should be fine. And now my hookups. My hookup is just you back probe your. There's a connector. You can back probe it here. It doesn't matter, is it power and ground, whichever the lead you put in, it's fine, and you're gonna get signal anyway. It's AC signal, and okay, I'm gonna put it back and see what we got. Right, sensor's in. Let's just change the. Actually, I'm gonna increase the voltage now. I was actually at 5 volts on the second channel, and let's go back to 5 volts now on both and see what happens. And I am on my scan tool ready to look at the ABS stop, and let's see what happens. So we can go left front and right front wheel. Well, we did not change. You can see that amplitude on the left wheel is still very, very low instead of versus the one on the right side, and now both of these both channels are at the 5 volts DC, and it's still not good as it should be. However, my ABS module is happy at this point. It's no longer activating my pump. I can go to the dead stop. Before it was pretty much happening every single time. Now it doesn't happen anymore. I guess we did increase the amplitude a little bit, just enough for the module to see it. I'm sorry about the glare, but it's still not fixed. I guess I'll have to get another sensor. See, before every time we get to the dead stop, this would go on. The ABS module would activate the pump, but now it's not happening anymore. Even though our amplitude is nowhere near as one on the right side, but you can maybe see if you can measure the amplitude. Now it was like 200 millivolts before that stop. We can maybe measure it now again and see if did we change anything or not. But it does work. It's not activating pump anymore. Oh yeah, definitely. It's like we're at 800 millivolts actually. Yeah, 620 millivolts right before the dead stop, and so I'm not sure now why the red channel is so high. Kind of. I mean, we are at the 5 volts on both, but definitely we went from 200 millivolts up to 800 millivolts. So this is right before the dead stop, and I was measuring before when the frequency was still pretty high before it went to lower frequency, and it was around 250 millivolts. But the let's see. We're at 1.4 volts on a red channel now. It's kind of weird. It's It's like 620. It's 630 actually, but again, it's better than what it was, and the computer is happy now. We can see signal at the lower speed, even though it's still not the same as the one on the right side. We're at here 900 millivolts and 1.4 volts. Oh well, it is what it is. If this comes back again, I will definitely get the new sensor, but for now I'm just gonna leave it as it is. Computer is happy, it's not activating the... So far so good. I mean, you can see there's no activation of the pump anymore. And so many times I accelerated and went down to dead stop, and there's one here actually. That's interesting. I didn't even see, I didn't even feel it actually, that because before I would feel when a pump is on, but I mean, it's a big improvement for sure. Again, I did not even feel when the activated this time here. I'm not sure if there's a dropout or not, but on a lab scope, I mean, it's pretty much the same. The amplitude is a little lower now, but it's much better than what it was before. Signal itself, you know, I don't see any dropouts. It's just the frequency. It's not the same. I mean, amplitude. The frequency is the same, just the amplitude is not the same. Okay. This is a week later. I just installed new axle and we put a new sensor in it. And now we're gonna go and test drive it and see. He did tell me that a couple of times the ABS system was activated, and I've told him we need to put a new sensor in, so we did. As well as you can, if you guys remember, maybe you didn't pay attention to it, but there was so much grease around because the bolt on the axle was completely torn. And here's the old sensor. And let's take it for a spin. The channel A is going to be the right wheel, channel B is going to be a left wheel, one that we had a problem with, and right now we have actually 300 millivolts on each, and I got both channels at 5 volts DC, and I also have my scan tool with the left and right speed sensor and ABS activation. You can see the signal looks much better. Evened out the left sensor actually makes a higher amplitude than right sensor. And just to prove it to you guys, I'm going to disconnect the front left. I just want to make sure that I'm not making a mistake here. So here's my left harness here, connector. I actually use a jumper cables. I'm just going to disconnect this front left, and now I'm going to look at the signal and show you now if you don't have the signal from the left side. So now for sure my red channel is, my B channel is my front left. Now looking at my live data on my scan tool, I'm accelerating up to 15 miles an hour, and then I'm going to slow stop just to make sure that the ABS does not activate the pump anymore. The ABS module doesn't activate the pump, and it seems to be okay. So right now I'm just driving very slow on the local road, going 50 miles an hour, and then go to the full stop. I just want to make sure that my ABS module see that signal and does not activate the pump anymore, ABS pump. Everything seems to be normal now. So the bad sensor and excessive corrosion on the base of the sensor was cause of this issue, and a little bit tricky because, as I said again, the ABS module did not flag any kind of code for the bad sensor. Basically, we did not have any glitches on the sensor, it's just the amplitude was not correct, and the computer doesn't know what's going on. Sorry about the glare here, but everything's fine now. And signal on both sensors seem to kind of equalize now, almost. The red is still a little bit higher, but at the lower speed they're the same, that's what the problem was anyway. And I'm at 10 miles an hour. They're almost identical now. 5 miles an hour. Yeah. Okay. All right. That should do it. And without the scope, this will be a little tricky to find for sure. Alright guys, I'm sorry about the glare. I'm doing the best I can, but this one is fixed, and should not be any more problems with it. I mean, I've done like 20 times by now. I would go all the way to the full stop, and you know, ABS is no longer activating. Alright, that'll do. That'll wrap it up, this one. Alright guys, thank you, and see you next time. Thank you, bye-bye.